Welcome to an episode of Founder in the Chair. I'm your host Veena, and today we're joined by Tajinder Ruthu, the founder of Modern Standard, a skincare lover who turned a passion from blogging into building her own skincare brand, all while working a demanding full-time job. Her journey hasn't been a straight line. She's been navigating the highs and lows of entrepreneurship, faced unexpected challenges, including a major rebrand, and even welcomed a baby along the way. Her story is a brilliant example of what's possible when determination, adaptability, and a love for what you're building come together. I'm so excited to welcome and hear the story from you, Tajinder. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. So you've done all of that while having your ups and downs and having a baby.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you started with blogging about skincare.
Yes. So actually, and even that goes back a while. So, I mean, I was brought up in a very traditional Indian Punjabi family with grandparents and parents around. And by the very nature of being in a Punjabi family, you know, you grow up with like hair oiling and turmeric masks, and it's like so typical of that kind of upbringing.
Yeah.
But I think that put the concept of naturalness in me, and being able to use natural ingredients for your skin and hair. And that stayed with me for a while. So into my teens, I was pretty much making a lot of my own oils and face creams and everything. But I always had a passion for skincare, like always. So on Saturdays, when I started my weekend jobs at the age of 16, when I used to get paid at the end of the month, all my friends would go and when they got paid, they'd go to buy clothes for the night out. But I just used to love going into Boots and seeing like the latest Lancome products and the Estee Lauder products. Like I was just fascinated by it.
Yeah.
So I used to love getting paid and going to buy the latest products from there, and then go home and do all the rituals of putting it on. And like this was 16.
Yeah.
I think at 17 I had the whole Shiseido lineup. Like, I was just so into it. And so I knew quite a lot about skincare because I just used to love going to Selfridges and department stores and just looking at everything and what the latest ingredients were, what the latest trends were. And I used to get asked quite a lot about, from friends and family, about what are you using? How do you keep your skin clear? What do you think about this brand? Have you tried this product? And a lot of the times I was able to give them some advice. I'm not a qualified dermatologist, but I could give them an informed opinion. And so then I thought, maybe this will be useful for other people as well if I just start a blogging page or an Instagram page. So I think I did. I started it in 2017 and I called it Care Soaked Skin. And it was very much like a weekend thing. I was working full time then. So when I had time on Saturdays or Sundays, I'd talk about what products I'm using. Give some recipes about face masks or hair masks and talk about ingredients and smoothies and all that kind of thing.
Okay.
And it picked up quite a lot of traction, got a lot of interest. People asking me lots of questions about what they think that what I would suggest on face masks, detoxes, cleaning, cleansing the skin and all that kind of thing. So yeah, that pretty much started from there.
So just because your mum or your grandmother and it all started from there. And, at the time we're like, oh, don't put this smelly oil on us, or I don't want to put that turmeric on my face.
I know, exactly.
We underestimate it, don't
I totally
we?
underestimated it because that is like a superpower now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, everyone's using turmeric now.
Yeah.
So the journey started obviously when you were young, and then you decided to launch your own brand.
Yes. So when I was blogging, posting on Care Soaked Skin, and I was getting a lot of engagement from my audiences. And I remember I went out for a dinner with my cousin one evening, and she was asking me, what do you ultimately want to do with this? And where do you think, you want to go with it? And I remember saying to her, I would absolutely love to launch my own skincare brand. But even saying it, I was so scared saying it out loud because it felt like such a big dream that I'm not even qualified. How would I ever launch my own skincare?
Yeah.
So I said it and then kind of like pushed it aside because I thought that's probably never going to happen.
Yeah.
But it planted something in me that I would really, really like to do it. And the path to that was quite organic as well. So because I was developing a lot of my own products, and I was blogging. At the same time, I was moving into London because I grew up outside of London, and I'd moved into London for working and living there, and I could see the difference it was making to my skin. So, you know, my skin was more dehydrated. It was a bit more irritated. It was getting inflamed. My hair was becoming drier because the water is much harder in London. And with the knowledge of the market that I had with skincare products, there wasn't really anything on the market for that specifically. To my surprise, there was nothing to address pollution or urban living. And so I was aware that my skin needed a lot more nourishment. So I was developing more oil-based products and sharing it with friends and family who were saying it's making a real difference to their skin. And then COVID happened, and I was randomly served an ad one day for this school called the Formula Botanica School of Organic Formulation, and it's the biggest one in Europe, and it's basically tells you how to formulate and how to sell products legally.
Okay.
And by then I kind of like knew what my formulation was, but I wanted to understand all the compliance and regulations behind it, because there is quite a lot of regulations, especially when you're using essential oils.
Okay.
There is so much kind of like safety behind it. So I passed that, got my diploma, understood now how to be able to sell the products I ever wanted to. And then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to test the market and see, you know, what the response is. So I used to work full days for my full-time job. And on Saturday and Sunday, I managed to get a stall at Hampstead High Street Market leading up to Christmas. So I'd go and set up there Saturdays and some Sundays, and just see the response from audiences, like, you know, how did they interact with it? Did they like it? Was the price point right? All that kind of thing. And I got a really positive response and I couldn't believe how much people loved it. Because when it's your product, you think you love it because you've made it, and you just never know how it's going to be received.
Yeah, of course.
So it got a really good response, which I was really pleased about. And then I thought, I'm onto something, you know, maybe I can develop this and help other people in the same situation as me. And then the kind of brand journey started from there. When I got validation from the markets that this is something that I could do, I worked with a rebranding agency, spent loads of money on getting this like brand done, the website done, the packaging done. At that point, I called it Modern Vida because I wanted it to represent the traditions that I grew up with and the ingredients I grew up with. But obviously, I'm adapting it for modern day living. So Modern Vida was like, that is a perfect name to encapsulate the values of the brand. So I did the PR strategy, did everything, was about to launch. And then I got served a legal letter by a global competitor with a very similar name that told me I will need to rebrand, otherwise they'll take me to court. And this was literally just at the start of my journey with Modern Vida. And I'd had loads of money tied up in it. And I spoke to legal teams and they were like, look, you can fight this, but they are such a big company that, you know, they're going to have the best lawyers. So I had no choice but to change my name. But at the same time, at that time, I found out I was pregnant after 2 years of trying. So now I was like, I'm just going to take a step back and just figure out, you know, when the time happens, what I want to do. And then through my mat leave, I didn't really think about it much until like the 10th month when I was, you know, kind of going back to thinking about going back to work. And I was like, I really want to still do this. Like I miss it. And then I just took my time over it, thought about the name that I thought could still really represent, that I can resonate with. Came up with Modern Standard, which now I just love that name. I actually prefer it. So every cloud has a silver lining. And then, I properly relaunched last year towards the end of last year as Modern Standard.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite impressive. So as you're doing this while working full-time as well, so you're still working full-time,
yes.
right? Okay. And being a mum.
Yeah.
Can you talk through what systems or habits that you've put into place that help you stay consistent?
Yeah. So, and I have to say that these are systems that work for my circumstances specifically because, you know, the concept of systems isn't new. It's not me reinventing the wheel, but I've been in a position where I am working full time as a global director. So that takes a lot of my time. My baby's just over 2 years old. So, you know, he's still very young.
Yeah.
My husband at the moment is setting up a business abroad. So he's away. He's been away for the last over 4 months and probably going to be there for, you know, a little bit longer. And I'm lucky enough to live with my in-laws who are really supportive.
Okay.
But the day in, day out, you know, of motherhood and parents is kind of like, you know, still a big part of my role. And without my husband, it's been really hard. But I made a decision that I still want to continue with doing this business because it's my passion and I absolutely love it. And the way to do that, I've had to put systems in place to make sure that I can still do that along with everything else. So there's two things that I think have really, really helped, and I would recommend to anybody looking to do a similar thing. And the first one is just being really mindful about how you're spending your time and what you spend it on. And by that, I mean, you know, we're not going to get more time in the day. You know, you're working full time, you've got a young baby, you know, you may have somebody helping there to support you or you may not. You're not going to get more time. But what you can do is with the time that you do have, make sure you're spending it on the right things that are really going to move the needle in your business. And that requires a bit of preparation up front. So, for example, every quarter, every week or every month, whatever frequency suits you, you should write down kind of like what is your ultimate strategy or North Star that you want to achieve over those next 3 months or month or week. The objectives that kind of sit under that strategy. So let's say you kind of do a top 3 objectives to kind of reach that overall North Star. And then under each one, you should write a complete list of every single thing you need to do to achieve that objective that will then ultimately go to your North Star. And by doing that, that means when you do have time and you've carved out time in the week, you know that you're working on the right things that will ultimately help you achieve your objectives and then that will help you achieve your North Star. So you're always working on the right things. And I say that is so important because I think one of the main kind of pitfalls that people fall into is when they have time, it's kind of like, what do I work on? And you'll procrastinate, or you might just do an easy admin job because you don't really know what to do. And that's kind of like just leaking valuable time. And that's what I do. I personally do it on a monthly basis and kind of figure out what do I want to achieve for the next month, all the kind of main things that I need to do underneath that, and then every single task under each one of those objectives. And then that's what I focus my time on. So I definitely say, definitely try to be intentional with what you're doing so you can make the maximum use of the time that you do have. And the second thing I think is really trying to optimize your time for energy and productivity. So look at, you know, where there's energy leakages, because ultimately with so many roles, you are giving so much of your energy away, but where can you claim it back? And where are the energy leakages that you can help, you know, maybe prepare earlier to stop them during the week? So for me, for example, what works for me is I don't want to think about what I'm going to be having for lunch or dinner every day. You know, or be like, okay, I don't have the ingredients for this, go to the supermarket, come back, you've just spent an hour and a half, then you've got to go and cook. And, you know, it's 2 hours before you sit down for a meal. And that's just for me. I'd rather spend those couple of hours on trying to grow my business. So I meal prep on a Sunday for the next 4 days, and I don't have to think about breakfast, lunch or dinner. That's done. That's an energy leakage for me that I've kind of reclaimed. Even I kind of know from the start of the week when I'll be in the office and I'll know what I'm going to wear, get that ready, and then you don't have to even think about that. And then movement, I try to incorporate as much movement or exercise as I can because, you know, ultimately that gives you energy. It resets your mind in the right way. And it's really important for me to just clear my mind and start my day that way. But I have to say, all of this, like, I don't do all the, I can't do it 100%.
I was just thinking, oh my gosh, she's like a superwoman.
I don't do it. I do work to the 80-20 rule, and you have to, because also when you're a mum, I mean, just the other week, my son got sent home from school because he was really ill and then didn't go to nursery for the next week. So although I had my priority list, I couldn't start it. So, you know, you have to have some level of flexibility. It's just never going to work. And you can't put that much pressure on yourself. When you do want that level of flexibility at the weekends, you do want to spend time with your family. But I think what those systems do is it gives you consistency and it gives you focus, because you can't rely on motivation. As we all know, motivation comes and goes. It's a consistency. It's a showing up. And for me, knowing at all times what my task list is for my priorities and knowing that I'm prepping myself for the week, that just supports me for being consistent and showing up when I can. So yeah, they're the two things that I would definitely say have really helped me, is be really clear, intentional with my time and maximize my day for energy and productivity where I can.
Yeah, where you can with any little curveball.
I mean, the thing is, sorry, just to add to that, everybody talks about sleep, and I'm just like, if I read one more post that says, get 7 to 8 hours sleep a night, and that will be great. I'm just like, that's just not realistic.
Yeah.
So what other ways can I maximize my energy and claim it back? And those are the kind of things that I do. So, what can I do to prep that takes, doesn't take my energy away from the week, and things like movement, drinking water, having electrolytes, all that kind of thing, because sleep just isn't really going to work for me.
Because you've got a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
So doing all of that, I get it. You try to do all that. And some of the challenges you face is like your 2-year-old got sent home, etc. What about the days when you're just like, I don't even want to look at my task list, and you don't feel like motivating yourself, but you've got to work on your business because it's your baby and you've set it up and you're passionate about it. How do you give yourself a kick up the backside?
Yeah, and I think that's a very realistic scenario because, like I was saying, you're not going to be motivated all the time.
Yeah.
I do think having a list helps you because otherwise it's easy to say, I don't know what to work on, so I'm just kind of like not going to work on it.
Yeah.
But I think you have to be realistic with yourself. There's 2 ways that you can approach it. And I always compare the analogy to going to the gym, because sometimes you're going to go and give 80% effort. Sometimes you're going to go and give 20% effort. Sometimes it might just be going to stretch. But either way, you're showing up and you're just continuing it. So I think there's an effort level where you're just like, look, this task here is probably going to take a little bit more brain power, and, I need to think about the content more strategically. I don't have the bandwidth to do that. But actually this task, which I know will still support it, I can do. And that might just be sending out an email as opposed to writing a content strategy. So you can kind of like approach it that way. The other is, you have like rest is also important. Whilst you can't, whilst I'm saying I don't get 8 hours sleep a night, I try to rest in other ways. So it could just be, do you know what, I just can't think creatively right now. I might just need to go for a long walk, or I just want to watch Netflix, or I just want to read a book, and not feel guilty about it, because your creative juices can't run 100% of the time. You do need to recharge yourself in other ways. And even that has been a really big mind shift for me, because I have massively related my value to my productivity. And I've always felt guilty of switching off and resting. And I've had to work like really deep with my coach on this. It's taken like probably 2 years for me to get to a point where I'm like, if I want to be a successful founder along with everything else, it's essential that I rest. If it's not sleep, it's other ways. If I can get an hour's nap on a Sunday, I'll do that. And I'm not quite there, but I'm getting more towards that and understanding the importance of it. And that it goes hand in hand with the productivity of your business, that sometimes you just are, I just need to rest and not think about anything else. And by the reset, naturally, you'll start getting more ideas, and it kind of like works that way.
So you mentioned a coach.
Yes.
You have a coach?
I do.
And how does a coach help you?
Oh my gosh, massively. And I think when I first started the founder journey a couple of years ago, I probably associated the success of it with the output. So, how quickly am I scaling? What unit sales am I getting? All that kind of thing. I think what it quickly taught me was actually it's the internal work that will determine whether you're successful, because now I fundamentally believe you can't have limiting beliefs and be successful in your business. It actually starts with your internal mindset to then go on to do what you want to do. And I don't think I would have realised that without a coach. And she's helped me really understand the gap between where my mindset was and where it needs to get to be a founder and, be successful in my career and be a working mum. Because so far my mindset was, okay, I'm really high in my career, I'm doing really well, I'm a mum and I want to launch a business. But the mindset that goes with being a successful founder is completely different. And I think starting the founder journey will bring up every single limiting belief that you have, even if you are not even aware that you've had them. I mean, some of them I was not aware of that I even had. But the internal work makes you realize what your self-worth is like, what your self-value is like, what your self-esteem is like. And I think addressing those is probably the most important work that you can do in the founder journey, or generally as a person, to develop yourself and become the best version of yourself that you can be, because you have to address those to fundamentally believe you are worthy of everything that you want to do, and that you are confident in going after your ambitions and your dreams.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, because when you work, you've been given a job, you're going to work 9 to 5, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and you're told what to do, and that's your job.
Yeah.
But you've got to have the self-belief that you can be more than that job, the founder.
Yeah.
And you've got to motivate yourself. You've got to pick yourself up. You're not going to get paid. You're not going to get sick pay.
Yeah.
You're just going to have to, like you said, show up.
Yeah. And the self-belief that goes with that, you know, is something that some people have to develop. And I realise that's something that I have to develop. But it's so essential, I think, like, to do that inner work. And I've been working with her for 2 or 3 years on and off, more consistently over the last year. And that it's just so essential, I think.
Do you want to say her name? Do you want to give her
a
shout out?
Yeah, of course, yes. Her name is Nayyar Patel. And her Instagram page is Nayyar Patel Coaching.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm a massive advocate for her. I think she's brilliant. She explains it so well, and she just understands where you are and where you want to get to. So yeah, she's brilliant.
Okay, I love that. So if someone's listening and they're a mum and they do work, what would you say to them to grow their business alongside a full-time job and a family? Apart from, I know you do your task list, I know you have a coach.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you do? If there's some, because there's going to be a lady listening right now and thinking, oh, I've got a 2-year-old. Oh my God, how does she do it? I can't be doing tasks lists like that. I'll never get it done.
Yeah.
Anything else that has been key for you?
I think, so if they're at the start of their journey and want to launch something, I think one of the things that people think up front is that they need more time. And you don't. I think if they were very honest about their day and audited their day every day, you know, there'd be at least an hour there that they could kind of reclaim and put towards their business, right? That might be scrolling Instagram, watching Netflix, which there's nothing wrong with. But if you want to start something, then you have to change your behaviors in the day. So say, for example, they just reclaimed an hour a day by not doing something like watching Netflix. Over a week, that's 7 hours. That's a working day already that you could dedicate towards doing to your business. Even if it's half an hour, you know, that's still a decent amount of time over a week to just start something. So I would say don't let the time scare you, because you probably can carve out time in your day if you really wanted to. But I do think actually that comes back to how passionate are they about it? And it has to start off with passion. You know, how badly do they want it? Because it is challenging, it is exhausting. You do need support, but it won't matter as much if you really want to do it. So like I was saying, you know, my husband's away and I still want to do this. When he was here and I was doing the winter markets, and, you know, there was one winter market that I did in Wembley and it was so cold that day. Like literally I thought I was turning blue, and my husband was like lugging around my suitcase and then getting me hot drinks every hour. You know, like it's hard, but I didn't mind doing it because I loved it. It does need to come back to how much do you want it. And I think the other thing is, people sometimes assume that you have to have a fully fledged, ready to go business to launch. And you don't. I think at the beginning, just focus on trying to understand, is it commercially viable? You know, take the pressure off you. You don't need to think about branding. You don't need to think about a website, nothing like that. You just need to understand, is your business commercially viable? Can you create money out of this? And just, you know, talk to your friends, talk to your family, go out and do some market research, go to markets depending on what your product is or your service. Is it needed? You know, does it need to be refined? Is your offer competitive? Who are your competitors? Who's the market? Like, and use it to understand your landscape and your product or service within that landscape. And so it doesn't need to be a daunting task to start off with. Just understand, like, is your idea commercially viable? And then from that point, you can kind of like go into branding. But by that point, you would have picked up momentum and you'd get more in the kind of like gear of being able to do things. But take the pressure off yourself at the start and just go baby steps. Because it is about consistency. It's not about rushing to the, to the finish line. And I do think Instagram and social media makes you think it is an overnight success. And for some people it might be, but for the majority, it is a long-term game. So when you start it, you need to understand you're going to be in it for a while before you see any traction, and you need to be prepared for that. But let that give you reassurance that baby steps are okay, because, the start of most businesses is baby steps and understanding it, and let it build organically. And if it's just half an hour a day that you can give, even half an hour, a couple of hours, a couple of times a week, is still better and moving towards your goal than not doing anything at all.
And then living with the regret.
And living with the regret.
And then someone else has done it and you're like, oh my God, I could have done that.
Yeah, exactly. Because the time is going to pass anyway, right?
Yeah.
So it's, do you want the time to pass, or will you look back in 2 years and think, I wish I did it? Because in 2 years, you can make significant progress.
Yeah. And I love the way that you just said that, just get on with it, because so many people get hung up on, I need a logo, I need a website, I need this. And they haven't even tested if it's going to work.
Yeah.
And I get sometimes people say, oh yeah, my friends and family are saying it's great. I think a stranger needs to buy it.
Yes.
You need to hear it from someone who's not
true.
just being like nice.
Yes. No, it's true.
If the stranger buys it, then something's working.
It's true, actually. Yeah, that's why it's good to get to, if it's a product-based business, I'd say use markets as much as you can, because it is your best market research and it's live and you get feedback instantly and you can talk to them. Like that was it was exhausting, but it was the best part of the research, because they're right there in front of you. You're experiencing them, like touching and feeling your product. So yeah, focus on that at the beginning. Forget branding, forget everything else. Just focus on that.
So do you make your own products, or do you have someone who makes them for you?
I make them myself.
Wow.
Yeah, I make them myself.
So as well as doing everything you mentioned, you actually make the products yourself.
I do. I don't know how sustainable that is going to be going forward, but at the moment I'm making them myself. Yeah. But I love it. I just love I love, setting everything up and making it and then pouring it and then, putting the labels on. It's just something really nice about being able to do that. I feel like I'm passing on something really nice. So yeah, I make them myself. There's only 2 products at the moment. There's a face oil and a hair oil.
Okay. And what's your long-term goal? Do you want it to do you want to leave work?
Yes, ideally at some point I would love to work on it like full time.
Yeah.
Whenever that might be, but I'm realistic about the fact that, that could be a while until that happens. And at the moment the balance is fine. I think in the first instance, I would like to expand the product line. I've got some plans for that this year that will help develop more of a product base that you can complete a routine with. And then see where it goes from there. I'd love to get into key retailers. I've got some plans that will kind of like hopefully manifest over the next couple of years. Hopefully I've got big plans for it.
Excited. We'll keep watching. So how do we buy from you or get hold of you? What's your details?
So my website is modern-standard.co.uk and you can see all the reviews on the website. I'm also on Instagram. I'm also on Etsy under Modern Standard. My Instagram handle is _modern standard. And I am soon to launch an Amazon page, but the website is the main way to purchase.
So the main place, social media wise, is Instagram?
Yes.
TikTok, anything like that?
Not on TikTok yet.
Not yet. I get everyone to sort of say, I'm sort of like going towards TikTok.
I know everyone is saying to me, you can still go viral on there. And I'm just like, I would literally, at the moment, I'm maxed out. I can only do one channel at a time.
Yeah. You're just going to have to put it on your task list. And then carve some time out to do it.
Well, the objective will be hire someone for TikTok.
Do you know what? And sometimes you just have to, isn't it?
Yes.
You can try to do everything and then you'll have burnout.
I know, because you have to have really good knowledge of seller center for TikTok, and I don't really know that, but there's people out there that specialize in that. But Instagram, I'm doing Modern Standard, obviously, and Care Soak Skin, I've turned into more of behind the scenes of the founder page. So I'm posting on that a lot more as well about, real life and, when I haven't managed to do anything because my son's ill or I've got burnout and all that kind of thing.
What's that page called, sorry?
Care Soaked Skin.
Care Soaked Skin. Because it's always nice to see what is the founder up to, and just, like you said, real life. So just going back to, obviously, the name, you couldn't use it. So if someone's listening and they're thinking, oh my God, how would I check that?
Yeah.
What would you do?
So the trademark registry, I checked on that and there was no one that had the name Modern Vida. And I thought that was enough. But two things, I would say definitely trademark. I didn't, because I thought there's nobody else with the name. So I don't really need a trademark. But this other competitor kind of argued that it's a very similar name to theirs and they can argue it in court that it will cause confusion between the customers. So even though they might not be the same name, there could be others that have a similar nuance to yours or a similar meaning to yours that they could still argue. So I would say just play safe and get your name trademarked. Once you know that it's the one that you want, get it trademarked before you do any branding, any website, any domain buying. Just trademark it first. And the process is long. It can take up to 4 months, but just do that first before you spend money on anything else.
So you've done yours now.
I've done mine. I learnt my lesson really expensively.
Because most people will just go out and buy a domain. They'd do their logo. No one's going to think about a trademark. Well,
I know.
I'm not saying no one, but most people don't.
I know, but I think, it just pays off long term to just do it. It is expensive and it is lengthy, but it's the best thing you can do to just protect your business, because you don't know when somebody, will come out and say it's similar to mine. And if it's a massive company, then you don't stand that much chance.
Yeah,
so
you're like a little ant and they're going to step on you and
I
that's
know.
it. That's your business and your dream over.
I know.
Although you can obviously rebrand.
Yeah. But just pay to get your trademark done from the start. Just get all your kind of like governance properly done.
Yeah.
And then you can pay for everything else confidently.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for all that information and being, I just think you're Superwoman. But
thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in. And we look forward to seeing what these new products are that are coming out.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.